We have multiple Toronto Blue Jays free agency updates, including a Juan Soto update from Jeff Passan, as well as another notable reporter, which gives some very interesting details surrounding him and the Toronto Blue Jays. So to break that down in this episode, as well as discuss Jordan Romano, we have an update on his front surrounding what the Jays' plan may be for the closer following his release from the team. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. If you're enjoying the daily Jays content, this is the place to be. So make sure to smash that subscribe button. Without further ado, let's dive into it. We have a lot to go over today, and obviously, we're at the time of year now where winter meetings are a couple of weeks away. That's, of course, when Juan Soto's decision around there is going to be made. And the Toronto Blue Jays are in the middle of everything. Now, whether it's Juan Soto, whether it's some of the starting pitchers like Max Fried, things have been a little bit quiet as of late for the Toronto Blue Jays. However, some more news is starting to drop, and it's going to start, and we'll start today with Buster Olney. So Buster Olney on the Michael Kay show regarding Soto. Buster Olney, of course, is a pretty reliable reporter. He said the Blue Jays are very serious. They have a ton of payroll flexibility. They're going to be the closest team to a blank check outside of New York. They absolutely could be the team that puts up a crazy number. And we also have a report that dives into what that crazy number may be and what it may look like, so we're going to dive into that as well. But let's just start here. We know that, and again, the whole framework of this offseason regarding the Jays and Juan Soto has been the Jays are going to be able to put up a massive amount of money, especially following the disappointing year last year, especially following, again, the Juan Soto, the Shohei Ohtani stuff, and of course, the fact that Rogers Center is brandly new constructed, right? It's brand new. It had, obviously, the center is very old. Rogers Center's been around for a very long time. The Sky Dome before it. But right now, like, they just made a bunch of renovations. Things are looking new. They need to get fans in the arena. The best way to do that is Juan Soto. There's no doubt about that. And you look at the Jays payroll, and we'll dive into that in a minute here as well. Like, outside of next season, they have like minimal salary on the payroll. They have enough money to really build their entire team around Juan Soto and Vladdy if they want to. So they could give a huge check to Juan Soto, $700 million. Like, they can afford any of it. And I think they are going to ultimately, and that's the biggest thing going forward, is going to be that. And if they can. And we know that all reports are saying that they are going to be able to, of course, pay him a ton of money. And then the question comes down to whether or not he's going to want to come to Toronto. Obviously, it seems like, according to all reports, it's between the Yankees, the Mets, and still the Toronto Blue Jays, with the Red Sox having an outside possibility. And a report came out from Mario Pepin saying that Juan Soto is seeking a $12 to $14 million deal at a $45 million AAV per season. So, that's a lot of money. Now, granted, if you do the math on that, you're looking at about if it's 12 years, that's $540 million. And then if you're going for 14 years at $45 million, you're obviously looking at a lot more money, around $630 million, I believe. So, a 14 years, $630 million deal. I'm doing either of these deals in a heartbeat if I'm the Toronto Blue Jays. It's a ton of money, but you're going to guarantee butts in the seats. You're going to guarantee fans coming in and watching the game, and you're going to guarantee some potential success for this Toronto Blue Jays team. That's what you've been looking for the entire time. So if that's the number that it takes to get it done and you're the Toronto Blue Jays, you need to be all over that. There's no doubt about it. Now, if the Mets offer $750, if you're the Blue Jays, I think the Blue Jays are going to match any offer that Steve Cohen gives to Juan Soto. Will they top it by a drastic amount? I don't know. And I think in order for him to come to Toronto, the Blue Jays and Edward Rogers are going to have to offer him significantly more than maybe some of the New York teams, because it seems like he does want to be in New York, but he'll take the amount of money that, the team that gives him the most amount of money. So if the Jays come out with $775 million versus Steve Cohen's $725, maybe something like that. Now, am I saying the Jays should give Juan Soto $775 million? Absolutely not. I think $700 million is probably even too much, but again, I'm just talking hypothetical, seeing what could happen with this team. But we also got some interesting things coming out from Jeff Passan. This is a part of Jeff Passan's article where he says, remember, the Jays have only 2 players signed beyond 2026, Berríos and Rodriguez, and while they'll need to supplement their free agency because of a weak farm system, it's tough to beat building around Soto and Guerrero. Beyond their pursuit of Soto, the Jays want a high-end arm to join Berríos, Gausman, Bassett, Bowden, and what could be one of the best rotations in baseball. And again, we know that they are actively pursuing a high-end starting pitcher, so depending on what happens this season, or this offseason with Juan Soto, they could easily go out and still get a massive name, which is why this offseason is so exciting. But Zach Marshall makes an interesting point. He says, this is the one thing Toronto has going for them in the Soto pursuit. The Jays have the ability to build and reconstruct the entire payroll around Soto and Guerrero. As of now, they only have $31 million committed in 2027, and that's if Berríos doesn't opt out. So, if you could pitch to Juan Soto, hey, you get to play alongside one of your good friends, one of your best friends in Vladdy, and you get to build an entire team around those two guys. They could let Bichette walk in theory or trade him, open up a ton of salaries. Then you just have Berríos, Yariel Rodriguez, and then you have Vladdy and Vladdy and Soto, and then you can just build the team around them. And if that's the case, Like, that's no other team can do that. Obviously, the Yankees have a ton of salary tied up. The Mets have a good bit of salary tied up. So if you're the Jays, like, that's a strong selling point. You can build and reconstruct your entire payroll around Vladdy and Juan Soto if you're the Toronto Blue Jays. And again, that alongside being the best, the only team in Canada. And again, that would lend credence to the fact that, hey, you could say Juan Soto, you could be the face of Canada baseball alongside Vladdy. It makes a lot of sense. And this is some more info from Jeff Passan. He said the Blue Jays were a mess in 2024, a dumpster fire for bullpen, all these things. But getting Soto is not a fan. It is not a fantasy. Offer the right amount of money, and he will take it. In the absence of that, or even better, in addition to it, the Jays must push for more talent and convince Guerrero that Toronto is where he wants to spend the remainder of his career. And if they whiff on Soto, the Jays won't be passive. And in this exercise, where Soto is already spoken for, there are plenty of secondary options who more than suffice to change the fortunes. Not to mention the narrative of the Toronto Blue Jays. And it seems like, again, Jeff Passan is the most tuned-in reporter. He has been saying all offseason long the Jays are serious players for Juan Soto. Whether it happens or not is still up in the air. But either way, you can like what he's saying is even if the Jays strike out on Juan Soto, there is an extremely high probability, an extremely high chance to do a complete overhaul and just get a bunch of solid players. Now, whether that's a guy like Max Fried, whether that's a guy like, I don't know, trading for an elite closer, Ryan Helsley, some other guys like that, whoever it ends up being, they have a serious chance here to make a huge splash in the free agency market and even the trade market to a degree if they strike out on Juan Soto. I don't think it's going to be a carbon copy of last year where if they strike out on Soto, they're screwed and they go out and get a bunch of, C-tier guys. I think they go out and they make a huge move. I've been on record saying that this offseason. If I'm wrong, we can come back to this video and say Nick was wrong. But I think they're going to make a huge move this offseason, and that is why all these things are happening. It's been a very slow offseason for everybody involved, and ultimately so far, it's been slow, but the Toronto Blue Jays, that might work in their favor. Soto clearly hasn't been blown away by any offers, whether offers are coming in or not. He is taking his time, making sure he gets the most money. And Jeff Passan says here, the seemingly annual wait between the opening of the MLB's free agency and time when players of consequence are signing is upon us, and it shows little sign of breaking. For all those dreaming up of an imminent Juan Soto deal, feel free to wake up. It's not happening before December. Do others focus on when Roki Sasaki will arrive. Embrace patience, because that will be even later, not until after Jan 15th in the next international amateur signing period. So things are going to start picking up. Again, it seems like Soto's going to sign before December 6th. And again, this article was a couple days ago, so we got about a week left until things really start to ramp up for Juan Soto. And I like our odds. I like the Blue Jays odds. Probably I'd give it around a 10% chance if I had to guess, an educated guess based on everything we're hearing. And 10% is not nothing, and it's a lot more than I thought they would coming into the season. But I think their percent chance of getting someone big this offseason, with my educated guess on that, would be like high, like 50%. I think they're going to go out and get someone big. But that'll wrap it up. But before we do finish, quick reminder that Jordan Romano, again, he got released, but a report came out from Thomas Hall. We probably shouldn't hold our breath, as one source put it, for the Jays re-signing Jordan Romano, and he's expected to garner plenty of interest league-wide, which makes sense because he's been one of the more elite relievers in baseball for the past handful of seasons. So ultimately, Jordan Romano, following his release, probably isn't going to come back to the Toronto Blue Jays. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know down below. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on all this. A ton of news is coming out, and buckle up because it's going to be a crazy offseason. We're going to have a lot of live streams coming for you guys soon. So if you made it this far, let me know down below if you're excited for the streams to come back. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you later.